What do we mean by philanthropy? The traditional answer is the passionate giving of private resources to need. But right here, right now, this day, that definition is changing fundamentally. At the end of the Cold War, Francis Fukuyama wrote an article in Foreign Policy, which became a book called The End of History, possibly the most poorly understood title of a book ever. He did not mean the end of events. What he meant was that we were now facing the demise of a bipolar geopolitical system in which the contest between communism on the one hand and democracy on the other hand would determine the future. The emergence of a common value for representative government implied, according to Fukuyama, that it would be very difficult to project future problems or behaviors on the basis of past or current behaviors. Learning from the past would be exceedingly difficult. It would be a matter of subtleties and complexities. We are, similarly, I believe, right now in philanthropy at what I call the end of definitions. It is not that traditional passion-induced giving has disappeared. It is that the mobilization of resources on the social commons has become extraordinarily complex. I've said many times that I really envy the young for more than the obvious reasons. I envy them because they are going to lead us to a new definition of what it means to be engaged on the societal commons. We have now not just passionate giving of resources. We have impact investing, something that J.P. Morgan has said has the potential to be the capital equivalent of equity in bonds. We have social bonds. We have pooled financing, social enterprise, quasi-markets, CSR, CSE. We have corporations moving marketing money onto the social commons, not just philanthropy, marketing money. We have resource mobilization of all types. Bono created Project Red. Bono knew that he could not predict whether you would reliably give $25 a year to end AIDS in Africa, but he knew, as sure as he breathed, that you would buy a cool t-shirt every year. So he used t-shirts to move money to Africa. These are extraordinarily new and enterprising ways of moving resources onto the societal commons. All of these forms of social finance are philanthropy in the philosophical essence of the word, even though they are not philanthropy in the traditional definition of the word. So the first element of change that has to be accommodated, has to be seized as an opportunity, is that the definition of social finance itself has changed. That is very important for all of you in terms of thinking how you relate to the societal commons over the next 10 to 15 years. It is equally complex, Your Excellency, in thinking about public policy. How can public policy lever itself against all of these definitions of change and bring those resources onto the societal commons? It is as though in skating to where the puck is going to be, Wayne Gretzky gets there and he's confronted with a levitating frozen bagel. Still playable, but certainly complex and puzzling as to how it will behave once his stick makes contact. The fact that we are among the many institutions under the public microscope should keep us awake, not lull us to sleep. On the long list of public expectations, however, it is the constant mantra of impact that troubles me deeply. As we become more concerned with impact, as we become more consumed with measurement, with results, with effectiveness, we are in danger of making philanthropy risk-averse. The price of being risk-averse will be huge. It will lead us away from the world of ideas, from the world of pure inquiry. It will lead us away from the edges of knowledge. It will lead us away from thinking about problems and opportunities in hugely different ways. It will make us timid when what is so desperately needed on the societal commons today is boldness. Philanthropy has the luxury of being what I call hunch money. It can work at the edges of understanding. It can invest where markets cannot or will not because of financial return, even relative to government money. It can tolerate a degree of failure and intellectual risk that public budgets cannot. Where we do not know the answers, where we truly do not know the implications of change, where we do not know the impact, it is there that the philanthropic dollar has its most unique and therefore its highest value. And it is therefore there that the nonprofit should place its best ideas if it is to justify its pact with the people. The pact is not simply about accountability. It is about risk and the investment in the future whose dimensions we cannot now even see. I would suggest a rule of the road for this. In an effort to be more futures-oriented, I suggest that philanthropies should devote 10% of their resources to funding risk in the world of ideas. Look for the best, the most startling, the most interesting, the most complex questions about the future. Encourage and support those who are probing the edges of knowledge. Allocate 10% of your portfolio to intellectual risk, to questions for which we can now only vaguely discern answers, to projecting the implications of risk and change before society is overwhelmed by it. Come back to the world of ideas, even though there will be no immediate proof of impact. 10% will not buy all the answers, but it could incentivize nonprofits to experiment, to challenge, to seek new thinking and new solutions to complex and perhaps only vaguely seen problems. If we do not do that, the problems will not go away. The problems will only remain below the surface until they grow and mature and surprise us. Surprise us with unfortunate results. I am to an age where I have a general rule of thumb, and my rule of thumb for life is that surprise is almost never a good thing. Invest in the world of ideas, in problems that we do not understand, for which we cannot guarantee impact, for which we do not know the outcome. Invest in the problems that are going to surprise us a generation from now. Be in the business of prevention by being in the business of ideas.